Chapter 2. The off-the-trail hotel was definitely not what she had pictured. Outside, it looked like the most classic Old West building imaginable, with dusty shingle siding, old wood windows, and a porch that extended the entire length of the building. The cedarwood rocking chairs looked like the perfect place to watch the town go by. Inside, however, was a totally different story. Gwen wandered in the door around 1 p.m., much too early for her 4 p.m. check-in. The lobby was charming. The hardwood floors were covered with hand-tufted wool rugs. Antique furniture was everywhere, comfortable and classic. Vases of flowers and cozy candles sat on most of the flat surfaces. It was so welcoming and homey that she couldn't help but be excited about her stay. She approached the lovely, dark-haired lady behind the front desk. "Hello, I'm checking in. I know I'm super early. If I need to wait here in the lobby until 4, I'm happy to do that." Gwen definitely didn't want to put the innkeepers out by expecting to check in early, regardless of what Midge had told her. "Oh, hello. Are you Gwen Taylor? We've been expecting you." Sarah Saito peered at her from behind her glasses, a big smile spreading over her face. She looked like she spent a lot of time smiling. Gwen immediately felt at home. "Yes, that's me. I'm up from Denver and didn't think the trip would be this quick." "Well, we don't tend to have any of that Denver traffic." Sarah laughed, clearly amused at her own joke. "You'll be in room number 3, the Leadville." Gwen wrinkled her nose. "The Leadville? All of our rooms are named after Colorado mountain towns. We try to keep with the theme. I think you'll enjoy the Leadville. Coffee and tea are available in the breakfast room all the time. Breakfast starts at 7. Sarah handed her a key. Gwen stared at the key for a moment. It was an actual key, not a keycard, like almost every hotel in the world used. This was an honest-to-goodness key, with an OTT hotel keychain attached. She smiled and gripped the shiny, cold key in between her thumb and forefinger. It was like being transported back in time. "Do you need help with your luggage? My husband Riku should be around here somewhere." Gwen was so tickled about the key, she almost didn't hear Sarah's offer. "Oh no, thank you. I just have the one bag. I'm pretty sure I can manage to spirit that to my room, but thank you." "Of course. Let me know if there's anything you need while you're here. You said on the phone you're here to see the Northern Lights, right?" "Yes. I'm super excited about them. I've never seen them before. Have you?" "I have, but not here in my own backyard. I was in Iceland when I saw them. It's an amazing experience. You will be so happy you made the trek when you get to see them dancing across the sky. Riku and I will be climbing up to the roof. Hopefully we can see them from there. Do you have a viewing spot picked out?" Gwen hesitated for a moment. Well, it seemed like a small enough town that her question wouldn't come across as strange. "I met someone in the diner who's planning on camping out to try and see them. He invited me to his spot. Maybe you know him, Milo Grey." A warm smile immediately crossed Sarah's face. "Oh, I wouldn't expect anything less from Milo. He spends most of his time staring up at the stars. The Northern Lights must be like Christmas to him. If he gave you advice on where to see the lights, you should listen to him. Besides being the smartest man in town, he's also an astrophysicist, so if anyone knows about the night sky, it would be him." An astrophysicist. Gwen was genuinely impressed. "He gave me directions to his viewing site. Do you know him well? I'd love to take great advice, but I also don't want to get stuck out in the wilderness in the middle of the night with an axe murderer. Oh, I can guarantee he's not an axe murderer. Sarah snickered at the thought. He's lived in Palmer Ridge for the last 5 years, after he left his job with NASA. He was in the Air Force when he was younger. He's about as trustworthy as they get, but he isn't particularly social, so I have to say I'm surprised he was even willing to tell you where he's camping tonight. Really? I might have caught him off guard by just coming out and asking. Gwen was relieved to know that his lack of conversation at the diner was in character for him. She was getting concerned that it was just her that brought him to silence. Well, maybe. But if he invited you, I would definitely go. He's slow to start, but once you get him talking about how the universe works, wow. Let's just say he paints a beautiful picture of the world. The phone on the desk rang, and Sarah excused herself to answer it. Gwen picked up her suitcase and walked up the stairs to find her room. She had come to Palmer Ridge for an adventure, and it looked like that was exactly what she was going to get. Milo checked his equipment for a third time. He knew he didn't need his telescope to see the aurora borealis, but you never knew when the skies would clear, and you might get a good view of a star or a planet that was normally elusive. He had never been a Boy Scout, but he certainly believed in being prepared. He was vaguely aware of movement to his left. Milo didn't usually pay too much attention to the things that were happening around him, preferring to remain alone with his thoughts at any given moment, but in nature it was usually a good idea to be aware of your surroundings, especially if you'd like to avoid being eaten by a bear. He briefly glanced over and saw Gwen Taylor standing at the edge of the clearing, not quite out of the trees yet. Her hesitation made him think she might be just as nervous as he was. Somehow, that made him feel a little better. The sun sets really fast in November. If you want to get set up, you really should get started now. Gwen cleared her throat. Milo felt that crackle of electricity in the air. Well, he'd seen her, she couldn't turn around and leave now. I just have my chair, it shouldn't take me long. Your setup is impressive. She walked over to where he stood. Her eyebrows shot up when she saw the expensive telescope sitting next to his 4-man tent. She cracked a smile when she saw the propane heater sitting out by his chair. You're really ready for this. There's nothing wrong with being ready for all possibilities. Milo was almost defensive as he put a protective hand on his telescope. Oh, I didn't say there was anything wrong with it, I was just observing. Gwen set up her chair directly facing his. No sense in wasting the amazing view that was Milo Grey. It certainly gets dark fast around here. It was true. The sun had almost set in the 15 minutes it took her to get set up in his campsite. Between the elevation and the time of year, daylight tends to fade very fast. It's different up here than it is in the city. Milo angled the heater so it was facing Gwen. He smiled when she pulled a blanket out of her bag. I guess you like to be prepared too. Yes. I suppose in my line of work, being prepared is important too. She conceded. And what line of work would that be? I'm a cardiologist. I specialize in cardiac surgery in UC Denver. Oh, then that explains your necklace. She blinked at him, surprised. Yes, how did you know about my necklace? She was wrapped up tight in her ski jacket with a scarf, hat, and gloves. Her hand reached up to rest on her collarbone. He could tell that she was quite sure her necklace was not visible. I saw it at the diner earlier. It's not every day someone wears an anatomically correct human heart around, it's very noticeable. Milo smirked just a bit. Gwen felt the corners of her mouth twitch up. In fact, most people don't notice it, and those who DP notice it usually don't get it. She glanced up and quickly looked back down at the heater. You're getting more interesting by the minute, Dr. Grey. So why did you choose medicine? Milo was definitely more comfortable talking shop. He hoped that she would indulge him for now. I've always wanted to help people. And I've always been fascinated about what makes us who we are, what makes us tick. Can you imagine all the things that had to align to create the human heart? It's the muscle that fuels all life, and it's so delicate, so fragile, but it's one of the most important things on earth. I wanted to explore and discover. And before long, I wanted to fix it when things went wrong. It's my greatest passion. She blushed a bit. Milo smiled at her encouragingly. He loved how enthusiastically she spoke about her work. So, I understand your field is super specialized too. What drew you to astrophysics? Gwen saw a gleam in his eye. I think it'll be a familiar story to you. I was always curious about the universe. As a child, I would map planets and stars, would always look to the sky to see what else might be out there. Our own galaxy is vast, unimaginable, but then there are other galaxies out there beyond ours. Can you imagine what wonders they hold? I want to know how our universe works. It's such a huge world out there, I want to explore it all. He stopped suddenly, realizing he had said way more than he intended to. He got up and pulled a red plaid thermos out of his supply box. Coffee? Oh my gosh, yes. If I'm going to make it until 2 a.m., I'm going to need at least a gallon. Milo grinned. Well, you're in luck, I brought 4 thermoses. If the aurora borealis shows up tonight, we'll definitely be awake for it. Gwen's eyes fluttered as she tried to keep from dozing off. It was nearly 1 a.m. and there were no northern lights to be seen. The clouds in the sky eclipsed most of the view. Disappointed and coming off a caffeine high, she sighed loudly. Just because we couldn't see them tonight doesn't mean they're not there, and tomorrow is supposed to be clear. We'll meet the aurora borealis sometime this weekend, I'm sure of it. Milo was much more pragmatic than she was, or maybe just a little less tired and cranky, she couldn't be sure. I know. It just stinks to lose a chance to see them. I was really looking forward to them, and I doubt this chance will come around again for a while. Gwen clearly wanted to be annoyed. Well, the aurora borealis presents itself hundreds of times a year, sadly not in Colorado, usually. If you really want to see them, you'll have plenty of opportunities. Milo was just too practical for his own good, and clearly didn't understand the appropriate response to female disappointment. Okay, whatever. I'm going back to the hotel. Hopefully tomorrow will be better. Gwen wasn't sure what she was most annoyed about, the fact that the northern lights had not shown up tonight, or the fact that she had to leave Milo. Even if he was annoyingly clinical, it had been fun to sit with him, in conversation and in silence, while they waited. Milo watched her neatly fold her blanket and tuck it in her bag. He got up and slid her camping chair into its sleeve. Thank you. Gwen hefted the bag and the chair onto her shoulder. I guess I'll see you around. Well, not if you keep walking in that direction, you won't. She turned around to face him, her eyebrows arching skyward. Really? And what, pray tell, am I doing wrong? Yeah, disappointed and tired was not the best way to make a good impression on the super hot genius in front of her, that's for sure. Milo cleared his throat. She could almost see him weighing the next words out of his mouth. Well, there's a deep ravine about 15 meters away. It's almost imperceptible in the pitch black all around us, but you'll definitely know it when you start to slide down it. How could you possibly know that? Gwen wrinkled her nose, now more curious than annoyed. Land distance, cartography, and land mass were part of my engineering degree. I've always had a soft spot for geography. He smiled as her puzzled eyes searched his face. How many degrees do you have, exactly? Milo just kept smiling, giving a soft laugh. Exactly the right amount. Even with only the glow of the lantern between them, she could see his eyes teasing her. She felt a blush creep up into her cheeks. Oh my, stop it, Gwen. It's entirely crazy to be falling for the guy that you literally just met today. There was the fact that he was clearly introverted and just didn't get on with, well, people of any sort, but there was also his hard jawline and soft brown eyes. The way he ran his hand through his short brown hair, and how the bicep on his left arm rippled when he did it. Oh Lord, stop it, stop it, stop it. Well, would you do me the great favor of helping me avoid said ravine and make it to my car safely, please? You know, since you're clearly the geography pro. She was trying to muster up some more annoyance, but it only came out as lust. Oops. I would be happy to get us back to the parking lot. Hang on, let me turn everything off and close it up. He started to put away his fancy telescope and turn off the lantern. Why are you doing that? I just need help to get to my car. You can come right back. She started to feel that excited flush in her cheeks again. I would rather see you back to the hotel. I wouldn't want you to get lost and fall down a well or something. Is that actually a thing? With you, it seems entirely possible. He picked up his flashlight and turned it on. The entire campsite was flooded with light. You don't have to do that. Besides, how am I going to get out here tomorrow if I leave my car here tonight? Gwen yawned. Any caffeine rush she had was waning, and she was bone tired. Don't worry about it, it'll work out. Gwen was suddenly too tired to argue. Don't you want to lock everything up? I imagine your equipment is quite valuable. We're in the woods in Palmer Ridge. The worst thing that could happen is that a herd of elk could come through and trample my tent, although that seems unlikely. No one's going to steal anything out here, big city document. Milo was teasing her again. He offered her his arm. She stared at it for a moment, and then threw caution to the wind. She took his arm and let him, and his super bright flashlight lead her to the safety of the trailhead parking lot. Milo helped her jump up into the passenger seat of his truck. She was so tired she almost didn't notice how strong and solid his arm was. Almost. As he quietly drove back to town and the off-the-trail hotel appeared in the distance, Gwen wondered what other surprises this weekend would have in store.